Hey everybody, it's Everett from Hood Time Welding. Today we're going to be doing some what I call tips and tricks of making your own homemade bender. There was a couple things that I found that the original videos that I watched that I didn't see, so we're going to go over a few things. Very first thing is this roller here. If you look closely, you can see I have it welded onto the washer on the back side, and that's because even though this is pressed down a little bit, you've got a lot of force here, and it tends to like to work its way off. So I put a washer behind, tighten everything up, and then just put a couple tacks on. That way if my bearings ever go, you can go ahead and just cut those little tacks, pull it out, put new bearings in, you're ready to go again. Next thing I found was, it was something I showed in the original video, and it was the top hole here. I got it a little off-centered, so I had to flip to the other side here to recenter it and drill this hole a second time. So my suggestion is you drill these two holes, you get everything matched up, and then you drill this last hole. This will just make life a little bit easier, so if you did what I did and sort of screw up on it, you know, it's no big deal. And that's why I suggest doing it second, so you don't make that mistake. I'm sorry. Next thing I noticed was the rods themselves. I don't have a drill press here. I have to do everything by hand, as you saw in the original video. So what ended up happening is I must have just been slightly off a little bit somewhere along the way. So when I was going to put everything together, it made it sort of hard to get the holes lined up perfect. So my suggestion is that if you don't have a drill press, at least still drill everything from the same side, because what happens is you have play, so when you're pressing down on this, you can't get as tight a roll as you'd want, because this can flex, as you can see on those rods. So even though you might have this nut all the way tight, you're still going to get some flexion from the rods. So you want to try to get these holes as perfect as you can. Myself, I ended up rounding them out with the die grinder a little bit so I could get a nice, so this would slide up and down real nice. And that ended up screwing me. One of the fixes I think I can do for this is I'm actually going to probably take some washers that are exact size, and at least on the top here, I'll weld the washer right around the hole to cut that hole back down. So, and then thinking about things, the last thing I wanted to point out was on the center screw here, or actually the center nut. If you look in there real closely, you can see how I had to round that nut out, or grind out, so that my center, so this could slide on here. I guess if you put this hole back a little bit further, you could do the same, achieve the same thing, but I think you really want this hole centered. Talking about, to be able to fit this center nut in, and actually the bolt itself, what I did is I got everything tight, and I originally just tried to die grind on it, but of course everything loosens up a little bit. So like I said, I went through and I ran that weld in there to hold that nut still, and my bolt stayed still so I could round that out in the middle. So those were a couple tricks I found. Oh, one other thing is, just because you do have a little deflection here when you're tightening up, your piece likes to walk out. So one of the things I'm probably going to end up doing is throwing a washer here, like I did in here, so that it comes out here and it can't get out any further. So I'm not perfect. I'm more than willing to tell anybody that. Like anybody else, I'm still learning. So this is just some tips and tricks I found making my own. I'll have to do some modifications to make it work a little bit better, but as always, if you like my stuff, please go ahead and subscribe and follow me. Any comments, questions, go ahead and ask, and I'll try to get right back to you. So have a good day. Thanks.